You know the drill. Say, talk to me.
Talk to me.
All right. Maybe our most anticipated movie of the year. We're talking Talk to Me.
Mm-hmm. Finally, I'm here to talk. Let's talk about Talk to Me.
Talk to me, Renee. Let's
No, you
talk to me. I'll talk to
Jason.
you. Let's just talk.
Let's talk over each other the whole time.
I mean, that's just the podcast, right?
That is the podcast.
So this came out this year, 2023.
Are you sure that that's our year we're in? It seems like you're unsure of that.
I'm questioning it because IMDb says 2022, and I'm like, that's not right.
No, it's 2023 because this one I feel like would have had a lot more competition if it had come out in 2022. But I would say like for sure it's definitely the best horror movie of 2023.
Yeah, so far it's it's at the top of my list.
I mean, so far we're almost done, so there's not much time left, and we're almost done with Halloween. So
there could be a little surprise, little jump scare of a movie.
We got Thanksgiving and Christmas horror on the way, actually, so we're eating good. What am I saying?
This came out this year, and God, I mean, we talked about it last year with Barbarian, but man, fucking love these YouTubers. They are just doing their thing.
Good for them, man. I'm really excited that we're getting wackier shit in movies that are mainstream now, because I feel like one of the reasons I love horror movies is because some of the wackiest shit I've ever seen is in horror movies. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that slowly it's been like creeping into like mainstream movies that everyone's seeing, like Barbarian. And like this one definitely has some like crazy ass what the fuck shit. And I loved everything about it. I think the guys who are on YouTube, like, you know, they're doing their thing there. And I like that, especially with A24, that's a great place to go to and like keep your style, you know, the signature like vibe of your shit. I feel like that's not what you get at every single studio. So it seems to be a good match.
I made a list of some recent notable YouTube movies, and all but one of them I love. So, I mean, first off, we got 8th Grade, Bo Burnham, coming out and just doing a junior high movie, which was really, really good. Not a horror movie. It's just a drama. Really good.
Hey, some people would say that 8th Grade is a horror movie, so you never know.
I mean, as a male, I don't experience that, but for a woman, I can imagine.
Oh, 100%. My whole life is a horror movie, Jace.
Then last year we had Barbarian. So the whitest kids you know. Well, one of the whitest kids you know.
Yeah, I'm sure some of them were in there doing stuff on the production. Let's not lie.
And then this year we had RakaRaka's Talk to Me.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, that's a mouthful. I like it.
Now, the one movie that that neither of us liked was Skinamarink.
I was just about to say, Skinamarink can go fuck off, okay? I'm sorry. I'm sure.
With that budget, good for them. But yeah, that's Bite-Sized Nightmares. That's the YouTube channel. And then one coming out at some point in the future with A24, so I have high hopes. The Backrooms.
We'll see if that's another Skinamarink or if that's another Talk to Me. Who knows?
A24 is going to give him more of a budget than Skinamarink.
I hope they make him give us a plot. That's all I ask. It's just some sort of a plot and characters' faces. That's really all I want.
The YouTube is the no plot version.
You sound
A24
like 80
is
years
give
old
them a plot.
saying the YouTube.
YouTubes.
This is really great. That was good. Thank you.
But yeah, I love the creativity that's coming out of
100%.
it. You know, especially I feel like every year there's just more and more people saying Hollywood's unoriginal. Just watch horror movies, man. Come on. There's so much originality.
You have to be original to stand out in such a category. I do feel like you can't. A boring horror movie really just pisses me off because I'm like, you have like full capacity to do whatever the fuck you want and you're just going to play it safe. Yeah. Get out of here with that. You know, I want some weird or something crazy. Just go balls to the wall. This is the genre. That's why it's the best.
Well, and Talk to Me takes the title for best box office YouTube movie. So Barbarian last year on a budget of $4.5 million, they did 45 million worldwide. So a 10x. That's still pretty good.
That's really good.
But Talk to Me said hold my beer, and they doubled
Hold my hand.
Yeah, hold my hand, let me in.
Yeah, all the things.
They doubled it, and they did 90 million worldwide. They did 48 million in the US. So like,
cool.
They crushed it. Absolute hit. And I think you told me this is the second sequel that A24 has ever greenlit, because the first one's Pearl.
Yeah, Pearl prequel, but like they've never greenlit like another movie to have a sequel or prequel after the first one. But X got, I guess Pearl was also before the first one even came out. They agreed to it,
but they greenlit it.
But yes,
after wrapping it.
But they greenlit it a bit earlier, I would say. But like Talk to Me, it was like as soon as it came out and was doing well, it was like, okay, they're doing a sequel. Like they announced that before we even went and saw this movie. So like they announced it within a week, pretty quick.
Yeah, they announced it faster than Smile announced the sequel, and Smile did like over 100 million. Like,
yeah, what are they doing? I'm not smiling about that info. Sorry, I'm all dad jokes today.
But yeah, so love it. Love seeing that these guys did so well, because this movie was just wonderful,
incredible. We need more Australian horror movies too, don't you think? I love Australian horror movies.
I know you love Australian movies.
Their accents, I think, is 90% of it. I just could listen to Australian people talk all day long.
I feel like this is the first Australian horror movie that I've seen that actually had a kangaroo in it.
I mean, yeah, I guess so.
I know you've seen more than me.
I'm pretty sure that, like, doesn't he, like, kill a bunch of them in, like, Wolf Creek, too? Like, he runs over a bunch of them, and you're like, I already fucking hate this guy.
I never saw the sequel to Wolf Creek.
Really? Okay, Jace. I know what we're doing our first commentary on.
I love Wolf Creek, but
no, I know. I think I've just seen that scene though, and that's in the opening. And then I think I was like, I don't need to watch this movie. Why the fuck is he running over a shit ton of kangaroos? It was weird, but anyways, yeah, this was the first one that, like, I think it kind of made me laugh when I saw the movie though, because I was like, oh yeah, like kangaroos are like must be like their deer, you know, where you hit a deer and it's just normal, but like.
That's a great parallel. Yeah, this must be a deer.
To them, it's just, and it just seems so weird to us because it's like, can you imagine hitting a fucking kangaroo on your way to work? I'd feel 1,000 times worse than if it was a deer. And I also would feel terrible if it was a deer. But still, I think kangaroos, like, that just was a real cultural moment for me that I was like, oh, wow.
I mean, I am glad that when they had the scene where they hit the deer, they didn't go like Crocodile Dundee with it and just be like, oi, fucking yeah.
You mean the kangaroo?
The fucking kangaroo.
Yeah, you got to do that. If you're going to do the Australian accent, you got to say kangaroo. The law.
But yeah, so this movie was great. And, you know, so this movie did something really impressive, almost like Mike Flanagan doing Dr. Sleep levels of impressive, where they
I'm so glad you can say that to me now. I've been waiting for so long for you to see that movie. It just feels
Renee,
so
your thing is always mentioning The Mummy, and my thing is always mentioning the last podcast we just did. So
I know. I love it though. It just makes me feel good because all these movies, I'm like, I've recommended this to you for like 3 years and you're finally watching it. It feels so good. I just had to revel in the moment. But sorry, I didn't mean to totally derail you.
But they had a uphill battle, Mike Flanagan levels of doing Dr. Sleep, of how do you follow up The Shining? How do you do a possession movie in a unique way at this point?
Yeah, I honestly, like, that's the only, like, I was excited to see this movie because of everybody talking about it and like talking about how great it was. And like, just, I think hearing that people were saying like, it's incredible and all this stuff hyped it up for me, because I saw the trailer and thought it looked cool and interesting, but I was not as like hyped on this as I was like for when I saw the trailer for Barbarian or whatever. I was like, what the fuck is that? Like, I just am so over possession movies at this point, because it's like, it kind of is like what we were just talking about with Carrie, where it was like, Carrie did it so well the first time. Why the fuck are we still trying to do it again? Like, there's just no point. They nailed it, right? I do feel like The Exorcist nailed it so well. It's like, but that's been the only thing that people have done with it for so fucking long. I feel like this movie, there's a few others that have done something different, but they stand out a lot more in that genre to me. It's like, it's almost like I'm impressed that you're bringing me into the genre that I thought I was over.
Yeah, and I think a movie that we talked about recently that did the possession thing in an interesting way, but they went more sci-fi with it than horror was The Possessor, the Cronenberg.
Yeah. That was definitely more of a sci-fi, but yeah, similar.
Yeah, like that was like a futuristic thing. So yeah, this doesn't go sci-fi with it. This does like the horror movie. But yeah, they do it in a really interesting way. So like some of the, notable possession movies that have come out over the years, like obviously The Exorcist, Evil Dead.
That's actually like, I enjoyed that when I saw the Evil Dead movies because I didn't really know. I thought they were like zombies or something before I saw it. So like I liked that those were another different thing done with the possession thing, because those were like, they love talking shit and being disgusting, and I was like, I mean, that's a choice, at least that's something. I mean, they were kind of like that in The Exorcist, but it felt like they actually were more silly in Evil Dead, and I kind of enjoyed it, like cartoony.
Isn't one of the lines in The Exorcist like your mother sucks dicks in hell or something?
Yeah. I'm saying like, so like obviously because it's like the demon says some shit, but I'm just saying, and he does some fucked up shit. But I would just say like, that movie I think takes that to another level. The Evil Dead, I think we can all agree, goes a little bit further than The Exorcist.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and then there was also two movies more recently that kind of played around with it, similar to like Possessor on the sci-fi level. We also talked about the movie Upgrade.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's definitely a sci-fi action movie, but yeah, possession of an AI rather than a spirit, but also Get Out.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Spoiler alert if you're the one person who didn't see that movie. It's a possession movie.
Yeah, it is actually. That's also a very different, unique. It's like interesting when they do movies like that where it's like a living person possessing you instead of like a spirit, because it's always harder to explain that, because like for some reason it's like, oh, if it's a spirit, it's like, okay, well, I can buy that. Like it's still weird. But I would say the movie I just mentioned to you, it's called When Evil Lurks. It just dropped on Shudder. A lot of people have been talking about it. I went and saw it the other day, and it was really, really well done. It's all in Spanish. It's from Argentina. But it's about these like two brothers who like on in the neighboring farm, that this man is like infected by a demon. And so he's like huge and like pulsating and like puking weird fluids. And it's like almost like, it's like body horror kind of, but it was like he's sick. Like they all say like he's infected, like he's one of the rotten is what they call them. And then it's like they're like, okay, we have to dump his body and like drive him hella far away. But then it's like, oh, we have to burn our clothes. And then it's like someone touches the clothes and then they're possessed. And I was just like, it's got some really weird things that like are totally different than what we're used to. And I found it to be very refreshing with a lot of different rules that I was not used to. And like, even just the thing of like, we have to burn all of the clothes and like wash ourselves, and like someone could get it just from sniffing your clothes or like touching them. Like that just seems insane.
I'll have to check that out. That sounds good.
I like when someone takes the idea of possession and like, or any kind of genre, especially in horror. I feel like it's why I'll always love a really interesting, like I love slasher movies, but like if you give me a fun, unique take on a slasher movie, I appreciate that, because it's been done a billion fucking times. And when somebody comes out here like in the year 2023 with something unique on something that's been done a million times, I just feel like it's always welcome.
Well, and I feel like the horror genre reinvents itself better than any other genre, because is there any other genre that has more tropes than horror?
Oh, I don't think so.
They continue to just like reiterate and reinvent on top of it.
It's because we get the meta movies within like the genre that like comment on it, and they're like self-aware. So I love that. I mean, you see that in some other movies. Obviously, it's not just horror, but I love that in horror. And I feel like when that happens, like Scream, that's when the rules change and they have to change again. And then it's like, then Cabin in the Woods comes and we got to do something different. And it's just crazy how it like evolves over time. You're so right. And that's why I love it. You know, it's always changing and challenging the rules and like doing something new.
Scream is like the ultimate genre refresher movie.
Like they needed that. Like at that point, it was like they were on like fucking Nightmare on Elm Street 6 and like Friday the 18th. I don't know. Like it was just so fucking many, you know, it's like we were over it. And I feel like Scream came out and was just like, we need something new because we're all different now. We're not the 80s kids. We don't want to just see tits and blood. I mean, I'm sure we do, but like, you know, challenge me a little bit.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, on Talk to Me, I mean, the real refresher of this movie is they are like a refresher of the Ouija board horror, you know, like the Ouija board is probably the most like synonymous thing with horror movies. Like so many movies have a Ouija board at some point. And it's like, oh yeah, let's fuck around with this board game and, you know, call a spirit. They were like, hey, let's redo this. Let's try something new. And that hand that they have might be the greatest just like marketing decision ever.
Oh, yeah.
Like it looks so good on a poster. Like you're just like, what is going on with that hand?
I have already like, well, at least I hope, Nolan, if you're listening, that you have already pre-ordered this because I sent him the link, but they're selling it at the A24 store. You can pre-order it for Christmas and it's like a pipe. You can smoke out of it. And it's like huge.
Snap.
Yeah. And I'm like, I don't want anything else. If you get me anything else, I do not want it. Return it. I only want this for Christmas.
So do you have to say talk to me before you hit it? And then you have to say I let you in.
I let you in and I take a hit. Oh, believe me, Jace, I've thought all about it. I'm going to try it every which way, and I'll probably be possessed and killing myself within a few days. But just check in on me, all right?
Now the question is the pipe part. Is that the thumb or is it the finger?
It's the finger sticking out, so it's like perfect. I just can't wait. I can't wait to have it around and just have it as like a fucking like it's just the perfect thing to put in your movie and go, people will fucking buy that from the A24 store. $100, I don't give a fuck. Send it to me. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like Smile probably has the greatest marketing campaign of all time.
Agreed. Yeah.
I think this might be the second. Like, just that hand was so good.
Product placement of like creating a product that people are going to want, right?
Yeah.
I also think back to like a previous example of like Jurassic Park. Like that was great because then it's like, great. All the things that they would sell at Jurassic Park, we can fucking make all that shit and fucking sell it. You know what I mean? It's just perfect.
So, all right. So let's get into this movie. This movie is crazy. So a fun story to lead into this. Me and Renee were texting each other as we normally do when we watch movies. And we were both just super excited for this, like more excited than any other horror movie that was coming out. And we're like, both the people that we're with are not horror movie people. So we're just like, okay, so we can't go see this with them. And then I think, Renee, you were like, what if we went and saw it in different theaters, in different states, and then we just called each other afterwards?
Like when we just go at the same time, it's kind of like we're going together. And then we also looped in Avery, who is just, she's been on the pod before. She's great. She was also very hyped on this movie. She's actually a big fan of the possession genre, which I was like, really? Okay, explain yourself. But we all three went and saw it the same day, and I just felt like I've never been happier. That was the coolest thing ever, because it was like, yeah, I'm going to a scary movie by myself, but like I felt like not as alone because you guys were there. Like, yeah. I knew you were there, like in another state. I probably sound fucking insane right now, but I was extremely scared too, seeing it by myself. Like I felt like it really added to the fear that I felt during the entire movie.
I was scared. I also think that I added a little bit of fear to all of the couples that were in the theater watching this. There's like, who's this guy
Yeah,
by
you look like
himself?
a serial killer. They just look like, oh, that poor girl for me. You know, it's like, oh, poor honey. And then I'm like, I just brought my fucking gun. Get out of here. Don't fucking say shit. Just kidding. I would never. But it's like, yeah, they probably didn't even give a shit about me. But for like you, it's like, yeah, you're definitely the fucking creep alone in the theater. At least you didn't do that for Barbie. I really hope.
Bald white guy with a mustache. Yeah,
Doesn't bode
definitely
well.
got some
You
problems.
have a hoodie on? Oh, shit. Everybody
Yeah.
out.
That was until they saw me plugging my ear during the movie, because that's what I do during loud horror movies.
I remember that you do that, you little fucking pussy. It's really cute.
But so I mean, I'm glad that I saw this in theaters, because there's certain things in this movie. This is not a loud horror movie. Like, this isn't a jump scare movie, but there are parts that, like, when they do get loud, you're like, oh shit. So like the opening of this movie, it's a long one take, and we love one take.
It. Oh god, I was already all in.
Long party one take, like it feels almost like Project X.
It does feel like a Project X party, and you're like following this guy. He's just looking for his brother. It's kind of hard to understand everything because they're Australian too, so they're talking fast. It's really loud. I'm like, oh my god, I love this. But like,
where's my brother?
God, you know what you kind of sound like as the guy from fucking
Crocodile Dundee.
No, you sound like the dude from Lost. Desmond, who's like, brother, like, and he's Scottish. So, like, I feel like you're going a little Scottish with it. But you're right. I guess it's kind of similar. Okay, I'll let you keep going.
It's not that similar. I have a lot of Scottish in my blood, so it's just leaking through. Right. It's a terrible accent. But anyway, long one take. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I had to take another side here. But yes, very long one take. Wonderful. I love it. It's very like Paul Thomas Anderson is what I always just think of personally from Boogie Nights, like that incredible one take. And I feel like going in through a party and like all this stuff, it's chaotic, it's frightening, it adds to the like tense. Like you're just like, I don't know what's happening, but like I'm worried.
Some dude busts in a door.
Yeah, when he kicks in the door and the dude's like, dude. But then when he gets the brother, you're like, okay, yeah. And then it's like everyone filming. That's one thing I really love about this movie is everyone getting mad at everyone when they're using their phones and filming everyone, because I'm just like, this is so fucking real.
I loved that, and I loved that as a horror movie, they didn't shy away from technology. They're like, yeah, if we're at a young person's party, like these people are all in high school, which you know, like they would all have their phones, they would capture all this stuff, and it like registered to me. I'm like, yeah, you know, you can YouTube right now, you can look up horror shit and be like, oh yeah, it's fake, whatever. And it's like, yeah, no one would care if you were recording something crazy that happened.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, yeah, they're not shying away from technology. That's always the thing in horror movies. Like, what? Why don't they just use their phone?
That's why they always have to say, oh, no service. It's like, we get it. I would love to see a horror movie where they do have service and they're just idiots in other ways. You know, mix it up a little, people. But I like the fact that like everyone's on their phones. They do have to like try to deal and explain things to the police and parents at some point. And it's like, so like, how do you fucking do that? Like, there's just no way. And like, but I think one of the things that I love about it that's very accurate, like no matter, I know this is definitely a modern version of it, but like I used to fucking play with the Ouija board every day in junior high with my friends. And we would like fuck around with it all the fucking time. And someone I remember was like, I can't do that. Like, I'm not going to fuck around with that shit. And that was the first time that anyone had ever been scared of it. And I was like, because I'm just an idiot kid. So I'm just saying that like if someone could do this now, instead of this being this huge, like, oh my God, it would just be kids fucking recording it and putting it on TikTok. And then people being like, that's so fake. It's like, it's just, that's just the world we are always going to be in, like with TikTok and social media. But like the fact that like they're still courageous and don't think that anything can harm them at this point, even when they're letting a ghost possess them, as crazy as that sounds, it tracks, right? Like that's just how kids are.
Yeah. And yeah, I want to get into the possession in a second, but I just wanted to say that the opening one take and how they transition from the party to, okay, something's wrong, they bust the door in, pulling the dude out, and then the dude stabbing his brother abruptly and then stabbing himself in the head. Like, first off, that's a very sharp knife. Like, either it's a sharp knife or he has a soft spot in his forehead, because it went through like butter.
I think it went into his eye. I think he
Oh, is that
stabbed
what he
himself
did?
through the eye into his brain, which I think would obviously kill you. But like, I'm just saying, this movie had a lot of eye shit, and I see it all the
Yes.
time, and I'm like, I always wonder what horror directors have against eyeballs, because I feel like they love to fuck with them, which is fine. Like, I'm okay with it because I've seen it enough now, but like, it's a thing, right? And this movie, they really are really good at making you uncomfortable with it, because like you said, the knife going in like butter, like I just feel like the sound of the effects of like that shit too, like when he like stabs, and then even the screams, it's just like all very visceral.
So when I say I'm glad I saw this in theaters, when he stabs himself in that split second, I audibly screamed in the theater. I was like, "Oh!"
We were like, okay, no wonder this guy's here alone. He doesn't want anyone to see him plugging his ears and screaming like a bitch. That's amazing. But yeah, the sound is like, I would say, really, they bring it in this movie. Like, the sound effects are pretty fucking gnarly, and they're really what get you. I mean, it's very visceral gore when it gets gory, but it's not like, I mean, it's definitely not Terrifier, but like, it is extremely like effective with the sound. Everything's
Yeah.
really gnarly because I feel like the sound is like extra.
Yeah, like this reminds me, like, so this is an R-rated movie,
Mhm.
and it's not R-rated for the gore. It reminds me of kind of The Conjuring, in that like it's R-rated because it's really just scary.
I would say it's definitely for the gore. I mean, if you're not telling me that you think it's gory, like when at the beginning
Okay.
scene that we're describing, that's pretty gory. And then if you think about like just for the average
kid.
audience, the kid fucking himself up.
Okay, that's R-rating enough. You're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. You're right.
Okay. Then the scene of hell or whatever the fuck that is, the underworld, that's also fucked up. That's some fucked up shit, man. I've only seen that in a handful of movies. And it is gnarly. So I would say, if you're like, oh, worried about the gore, there's like, when the gore is in this movie, it is very like visceral and like graphic, but it's not like the whole movie. Like a lot of it, I would just say it is more gory though than your typical possession movie. Those don't tend to be that gory.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, the kid going for the record of best headbanger of all time, that's probably the goriest scene.
That's so funny. That's
the
so
hell
true.
scene is like a flashing kind of thing. It
Effective as fuck though.
There's 90s movies that are better than that, but
okay, I'm just saying that like all I needed was a flash of that. If I would have seen more than a flash, there's like a baby being crushed in there. Like, you have not watched this movie close enough, Jace. If you watch this, it is fucked that what they show you in that brief little
frame by
moment.
frame with this?
No, but I'm just telling you, in that scene that you're saying, oh, no big deal. It might have been a fucking second, but like, you see that, it's burned into your fucking brain. That's all I'm saying. It's visceral shit is all. I just feel like I've seen a billion possession movies. I feel like the person possessed like gets purple or like weird colors and starts yelling obscenities and shit. But like this movie does something totally different with that, which is like really one of the other things that's unique about it, is that like the actual like violence is very realistic. And it feels like, I don't know, it just doesn't feel as like there's not this whole thing of like God is the one that has to save you also, which is always the message. I just watched The Nun too, and that's like, I mean, it just is so religious. I know it's The Nun, but still, it's just like all of these movies, it's always God who has to save the day, you know, to expel them. I mean, the person who's wielding God's power, whatever the fuck. So another reason I enjoy it. I just think this movie is just in every way that it could be unique from the other things it is.
So, on a scale of you love her to you love her, how much did you love Sophie Wilde as Mia?
I loved her. She was amazing. She was just incredible. I think especially what really like made me fall in love with her was just all the scenes where she's possessed. She really takes it up a notch.
Like she's wonderful.
Oh,
not in like a, I want you to like talk to me until I fall asleep kind of way, like Ewan McGregor, but like she is so effective when she's screaming, run, 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 run. I'm like, I'm going to turn this movie off.
Yeah, I'm like, this kid is still sitting here. I would be fucking out the door. I would never come near this place again, or the hand. This kid's braver than I am, and he's like 12. But I'm just saying, yeah, you're right. I agree. I do think that the character of Mia is like, I kind of feel like the more I watch it, I'm like, yeah, her friend is like, I just feel bad. Like that her friend is just like, man, this bitch is fucking up everything. Because I do feel like Mia makes a lot of terrible choices and is very like single-minded, but like she's great and unique in that way. I love it when we don't have the perfect final girl, It's someone who's really struggling throughout the whole movie.
So this is a great segue. We got some fan questions and feedback and thoughts on this movie, and our friend Jason, he simply just asked, is the main character deserving of any sympathy?
She is, but I just think I don't think she deserves her fate. Like, I feel like that's a bit harsh, but like, I do feel like she has it coming by the end. You know what I mean? Like, she does one too many things that you're like, come on, bitch. Like, but also she's grieving her mom. Like, that's fucked.
Let me ask you, does she do anything right in this movie?
That's a good question. I think the one thing that she does at the very beginning of the movie, obviously this changes, but like she goes to pick up Riley when his sister forgot. She's nice to Riley, the younger brother of the friend. Yeah. She's so nice to Riley and really like a good friend to him, because I feel like even his friend is an asshole. And it's like, I just kind of feel like Riley is the character that I sympathize with this entire movie. And I just feel so bad for that kid that I really love their relationship at the beginning. And then I just hate how she fucks it all up, because it's like, you were doing so good and you just screwed up everything for this poor kid. Like, I have so many questions about the end, but that's a great question. I can see like that fits into what I'm saying. She's not extremely sympathetic, but I think she deserves some, right?
I mean, I don't know. She makes a lot of bad decisions. Like, she's like, hey, your brother should get possessed because it's fun. And then
after they all say no, and this friend's like, no fucking way. And it's
and then she sucks her best friend's boyfriend's toe.
That's not on purpose, and she is just as upset as he is by that. When I rewatch that scene, I'm just like, you know what, dude? You don't have to. I mean, I get it. That guy probably has the right thing. Like, I'm out of here. If someone's fucking sucking my foot, I'm out. Like, I don't even want to stay to find out their reasoning. However, she has a good point, right? Is that she was possessed. It wasn't her. It's not like she was just doing that.
There's some sleepwalkers out there. They're like, I get it.
But she was clearly possessed. We could tell that because she was yelling at the thing who was doing it, which was 10 times worse than when she was doing it. Just saying, if that guy had seen the real spirit that was sucking his foot, ugh.
Oh yeah, Sophie Wilde sucking your foot is much better than whatever that thing was.
Still upsetting to find, I agree, but I do think that, like, in general, yeah. I think she's not perfect, but like, do you have no sympathy for her? Is that what you're saying?
So here's my thing. I don't have any sympathy for her, and I also do have sympathy for her, because one thing that stuck out to me on the rewatch, I didn't really get this the first time, and then friend of the podcast, Juge, pointed this out also. This movie is really like it's like a don't do drugs ad, because she is clearly using the possession as like self-medicating her grief.
100%. Yeah, and it's very much like a drug addiction thing.
So like, through the lens of that, she's an addict. And so everything that she does going forward is like, yeah, that's the behavior of someone who is not in the right frame of mind, who's more concerned with getting a fix than what's actually going on in reality. And so it's really sad in that sense of like, she is doing this thing because she can get relief from the grief that she's experiencing because of her mom. And if she sucks some toes because of it, like, that's just a byproduct of that.
I think she was just as upset as anybody else was. I just want that to be clear. But yeah, that's why I think that she's super, like, and I think the actress is really good at like portraying her, that like she's not super annoying. I
loved her.
She's definitely clingy to her friend, but like, I still feel like I enjoy her. Like, I would enjoy to be around her. Like, she's still fun and stuff.
It's
And
a good time.
She's a good time, and she seems like a fun person and like whatever. But obviously, she's got all this fucked up shit that she's not dealing with. She's watching videos of her mom on repeat. I'm just saying, like, would any of us be that strong if our parents had died and some ghost, like, supposedly was like talking to us as my mother? I don't know.
Probably not.
Exactly. So I'm just saying, let's not all point fingers, here. Let's all say who. I mean, I know you'd probably be fucking doing this hand thing all the time.
Oh yeah, for
You'd
sure.
be like, yeah, take it. I could see them all the time without it.
Also, they're in high school, so like,
yeah,
inherently they're doing dumb shit. So now we're just piling grief and getting high on top of that. So
I mean, to be fair, at least the kids in this movie are not doing drugs. I think we can say that. However, I bet you the mom was like, "Fuck, I wish you were doing drugs with my son instead of this." Dude, I bet the kid wishes that.
The mom in this reminded me so much of my mom in that my mom always knew the stupid shit that I was getting into. And she's like, just be safe.
Yeah.
Okay? Like, just don't get arrested.
So funny.
Don't go to the hospital.
Miranda Otto, you know who she played back in the day?
She's played a bunch of things.
Eowyn in Lord of the Rings.
That's right.
That's like my main thing that I always remember her from.
I did love that they twisted the idea of possession from being this bad thing to being like this euphoric experience.
It was like the first time since Beetlejuice. I think we forgot to mention that one as like a fun form of possession, but like that movie is like the most fun movie since like in the genre, like outside of Talk to Me. I would say Talk to Me brings a similar fun vibe to the idea of like, yeah, throw your voice at parties and like possess people. Like, and it's a fun thing. Like, they do a lot of funny scenes in that with that movie. Yeah. Whereas, like, here, I love that whole sequence where you get like the montage of everybody doing it. And it's so fun because you're like, okay, maybe I would do it though. Like, it kind of does seem fun until that guy makes out with the dog. I think we're all like, oh, God. Just so everyone knows that was CGI.
The dog was not licking him?
Like, they weren't tonguing. He wasn't really tonguing with the dog, yeah. Like, they had the dog licking something else on over his face and then, like, CGI'd it. Because I was like, yeah, if they really, like, that guy must have gotten paid extra, Like, when fucking Tony Todd had a bunch of bees in his mouth for Candyman, he was like, I'm getting $10,000 for every bee sting that I get. And it was like, fuck yeah. Like, this guy, I'd be like, I want $100,000 to do this. No joke. That would be my price.
Yeah, like that party sequence when they're all just hopping around, I was like, this is perfection. Like, yeah. This looks fun. Yeah. Like, they have the rules, they have it figured out. And like the previous scene, like when Mia does the first possession, like, they do a really good job of like, this is self-medicating. This is her dealing with her shit, but rather than alcohol or drugs, she's doing being possessed. And when she comes out and they're like, how was it? She's like, it was incredible. I was like, I was not expecting that. I'm used to like people being possessed, being horrified by it. And she's like, oh my God, that was the best thing I've ever done. Yeah,
it's so fun. And I'm like, it's probably because it's just like turning your brain off and letting something else take over, which is just like doing drugs, right?
Yeah, like it's like it like first thing in part of me is like, yeah, that makes sense. An out of body experience because you're out of your body and someone else is in it and they're just doing their thing.
But I'm like, are they like Get Out where they can still watch? Because I feel like I would be a little scared if I heard what this bitch was saying to Riley. Like, the fact that Riley ever was like, yeah, I want to do this after what this bitch said to him, I would never have come back to this. I would probably just kill myself.
Yeah, like then when they do that second sequence of just everyone hopping around and like people singing in French and like having a good time, it's like, yeah, this looks fucking fun. Like, I would be peer pressured into this.
I would too. Yeah, I would do it, and I'd be like, I would literally cry the whole time. Probably like as soon as I saw the face of whatever's sitting in front of me, like, nah, nope, I'm out. I don't think I could actually do it. I think I'd be too freaked out. But it does almost seem like it'd be fun, and you just like hopefully I get like a Beetlejuice kind of spirit, Nothing like I don't want any of these fucked up ones, like the one that likes the boy.
Yeah, not Riley, because Jesus Christ. Again, to bring up Mike Flanagan, this movie has Mike Flanagan levels of child abuse. Like, oh my God.
I think we should get that we should just copyright that phrase. Well, we can't because it's Mike Flanagan, but like it should be a thing that people measure things by, because Mike Flanagan levels of child abuse, it makes him sound like the worst, but like really it's like the best. He's
like,
just not afraid.
When he gets possessed and then beats his head in,
I think it's like, yeah. Ugh.
Well, first he tries to like gouge his own eye out.
Yeah, that part gets me.
And then he's just like, nope, we're switching over. I'm listening to Metallica until I die. And just beats his head against the tile.
This kid beats himself up so bad in this movie that I'm just like, dude, how is this kid not dead? He must have a fucking steel plate all around his head. Because that poor kid, like, he's got to have severe brain damage after this,
like,
you would think.
Is there any brain's personality left? Like, when the spirit leaves, is he just, is there anything there?
You think he knows what's happening? Like, he wakes up and he's like, what the fuck? Like, does he even have his eye? Like, I don't even know. It's like, that's all fucked. And he just like, it's so shitty because I feel like they really do a great job of making you really like this kid and like feel for him and like want him to be okay. You're like protective, kind of. And then when they do that, you're just like, they fucking know. They're just driving the knife in right now. Because that was like really intense. And it was not like a quick thing where you're like, oh, the gore's over or whatever. It was like, that was just like rough and intense for so long. And like really well done and visceral. Like the sounds of him hitting, that's why it feels like he should be dead. It's like,
and then we do it all over again, 30 minutes later when he's in the bathroom. And then he's like licking his own blood.
Yeah, fucked, man. Whatever's like, I mean, just the fact that this kid ever was like, yeah, I want to do it. It's like, I'm all for facing your fears, kid, but I don't think this is the way to do it. When the spirits are like, we want you and we won't stop. Sure, why not? Like, one of you have me. We'll see what happens. I don't want to ever get trapped in the underworld or whatever the fuck that was happening to this kid.
When we say face your fears, we don't mean to literally use your face. Like, it's a metaphor. But,
Jace, you just love the fact that this kid got fucked up in this movie. I mean, I get it.
But I love Flanagan.
This was not as fun. I will say Flanagan also is not fun to watch. Like, I would say, like the opening kill of Halloween Ends is so much fun because
that's a blast.
It's a blast. And the kid, the bouncing up and the fucked up shit is the best part. Whereas here, I'm like, this poor kid, don't do it. And same with fucking Dr. Sleep. I'm like, these kids, these two are like, it's way harder to watch, which is like, normally I'm like impressed and happy when they kill a child. As fucked up as that is.
I mean, I think at New Year's going forward for the rest of my life, when the ball drops at midnight, I'm going to just play the kid dropping down the stairs from Halloween Ends. It's the best part of that entire movie.
It is, honestly. I mean, I enjoyed that movie more than you, but that's still my favorite part.
One thing I also really loved about this movie is that it had its own style, but I felt like it had little homages to some other movies. Like when I felt like the toe sucking scene, the precursor to that, I felt like was a straight Hereditary homage where she's looking in the corner of the room and it just lingers there.
And then,
it's like,
something?
No, instead of nothing happening, something's going to pop out and crawl. But it's
subtle.
Immediately thought of Hereditary. And then also like when she calls her mom and talks to her and it's like blurry. It's like not a jump scare. It's like this blurry thing. You're like, oh God.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Speaking of Hereditary, this movie, we should have brought this up at the beginning, but what the hell? Second most successful movie from A24. It beat Hereditary for the second place spot. So number one is Everything Everywhere All at Once. And then it knocked out Hereditary.
Wow. That's high praise.
High praise. But yeah, I thought, again, back on like the kind of drug parallel, drug, alcohol, self-medicating thing, like those, drugs and alcohol, they can be very fun in social environments, like the party scenes, when you go out and party, you drink or you smoke weed or whatever, you do anything you want. But then it starts to really turn when she starts doing it by herself privately.
Yes. Or like not caring about other people's well-being and being like, okay, Riley, you're gonna stay in there because it's my mom that's talking. I don't care. Like, it's like she was so concerned about him a minute ago, and now she's like, I don't care because I'm getting my fix, right? Like, literally at that moment. So she's like, I don't care about anything else. She's very single-minded in that way. She's very much a drug addict, and as long as she's getting that, she's like willing to do anything else to get it, which is fucked.
And I thought it was interesting. They had that one line when they were talking to the brother who got stabbed at the beginning, and he's like, the longer that they stay in you, the weaker they get. So it kind of reminded me of like relapsing. Like, you stay away from it. You do all these things to stay in place, because if you go back, then they're just as strong as they were the first time.
Exactly.
And they never really talk about what happened with the brother. Like, I feel like they could do a prequel to this of just the brother.
That's actually what they had already planned to do, I believe, and they might be doing that. They have a prequel. I think they greenlit the sequel, but I believe a prequel is like planned. Like, they have storyboards and like scripts and stuff. They have already written it, is what they said. Like the brother story.
Because I feel like the brother in the beginning, what happened to him is similar to Mia, where like
he was talking to his dad, or like, you're not him, or whatever.
Or like they didn't blow the candle out, so the doorway stayed open.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
Or it stayed open. He was in too long, and then I think it sounds like it was using like a dead parent again. I just feel like that's like obviously the way in. I feel like a dead family member. If you have that, like maybe you shouldn't use this thing.
Yeah.
However, that's like the person who's going to get the biggest fix from it, right? So.
Yeah.
Are we good to talk about some questions about the possession that I had that we wanted to talk about?
Well, actually, real quick, before we get there, I just want to say this movie had one of my favorite unexpected twists when she like did the talk to me with Riley in the hospital. They tried to use the hand, and then she held his hand and did it, and then that little girl popped up. When she said, I let you in, I was like, whoa.
Yeah, it goes both
ways.
Yeah, that was fucked up. Like, I was like, oh, shit, cool. Because the whole movie, I was wondering, like, how are they going to do a sequel with this? It feels like we're really racing towards a conclusion. But, like, it's so popular, I get it. But it's just funny that, like, I would assume there'd be another thing. But yeah.
I thought this movie did such a good job of world building throughout, just like what this hand thing is. Like, they talked about where the hand came from. They're like, it was chopped off somebody.
Sure, but they like, I love that, like, they speculate about stuff because it's like they're kids. They're not going to know everything.
Yeah.
Like,
and then,
that's what you save for the further sequels, as we've learned from Saw on our rewatches. You save all those big revelations because they're going to need twist endings later on.
Except I feel like they're actually going to have something planned for these ideas, whereas Saw is like, we have to somehow connect these pieces. So
they're putting that shit out. They were putting that shit out once a year for like fucking 10 years. They're like, what's your idea? Okay, go make a Saw movie. We need one by October.
Let's go to the past.
We're all going back.
But yeah, like the little things that they did, they're like, oh yeah, it's the hand of some person who was a spirit caller,
medium or a Satanist. Yeah. Like, that's what's cool.
But then, like, that little thing, it's like, okay, so that implies there's a second hand, which kind of the ending, which let's talk about the ending and then we'll get to the questions.
Yeah.
I thought the ending of this was brilliant because it really filled out the story, not of the characters, but of the hand and what's going on, where it's like they are talking to spirits through the hand, and then she dies, and then she becomes a spirit, and then she talks to someone else in like Mexico or some Latin country, I think it said Portuguese, I don't know the subtitles, but anyways, she talks to them through that. So now it's come full circle. So now she's the thing that she talked to in the beginning. And I was like, whoa, this is such a well-rounded, like, thing now. We could just conjure universe this thing now.
Exactly.
Like the second hand. What about the feet? Where's the feet? Like,
where's the
is
head?
there a dildo of this thing?
Ooh, if you fuck
Or
it, can you say
Is it
I
even a
let
guy?
you
Is it a
in.
girl?
I imagine there's not just some like haunted vagina out there, but like that would be a great rip off of like if we're still making scary movies, that would be what they would do. It's like another body part, like a dick or something. It'd totally be a dildo.
Not to be sexist, but a petrified vagina has less effectiveness than a petrified.
I'm just speaking
penis.
honestly, yeah. As like, I mean, there's no way to keep that thing comfortable to use. It would not be fun. It would be more like a fucking like one of those finger traps.
What did you think of the ending?
I love the ending. I thought it fit, and it kind of had one of my favorite things where it's like in horror too. I feel like they like this is often a theme that they play with of like somebody dreaming or like thinking of their whatever their worst fear is what ends up happening to them at the end of the movie. So it's like what came first, or like how did she know, like that kind of shit where she talks about her worst fear is like looking in the mirror and there's no reflection, and I speak to people but they can't see me or hear me, and it's like it's literally exactly what happens to her. And then it's like then I'm just all alone in the darkness, and that's like exactly it. And I was just like, I love that. I think that that's just like you said, it just brings it all full circle. But it was really brutal. I felt really bad because I really was like, as much as Mia's not a great person, I felt very connected to her and felt bad. It's like, she doesn't deserve this. Like, yeah, she made some fucking errors in her life, but
she killed her dad.
Okay, she didn't actually. Her dad was at the hospital in the vision walking out of there just fine. Although some people debate that. They think maybe he's taking the elevator to heaven and she's stuck in limbo.
She stabbed her dad.
Yeah.
So
like her friend said that he was still alive
alive
when she got there, and she called the cops. So
yeah,
or an ambulance.
What was your question?
Well, I was just saying, let's talk about the ending because, like, yeah, we all know that, like, obviously she's the like spirit hand and like the one who is let in at the end. But like, how we get there, like, a lot of people debate about if who's possessing Mia the whole time. And same with like if Riley, that vision that the little ghost girl shows her, if that's real or if that's just the ghost manipulating her. A lot of people just like there's little hints that they mention in the movie. I feel like that really back up the whole idea of like the spirit who wants to be in you forever is going to fuck with you and manipulate you with stuff from your life that they know will affect you.
Yeah, they say that they can imitate them.
They can imitate people close to you. They know everything in your thoughts and your mind. So, like, they can use that against you. And if they're in there for too long, then they have longer access. Like, they can keep coming back and, like, fucking with you.
So then this is actually another question that we got. Are you saying that Mia's mother was not actually Mia's mother?
No, it was not 100%. No. What do you think? Do you agree or no?
I don't think it was Mia's mother because it was a very manipulative thing to begin with.
And it lied about a lot of stuff. It lied about everything. Like
I think I turned on it when she stabbed her dad. It all kind of felt there, but it was definitely when she was standing at the highway with Riley in the wheelchair and she's like, I'll take care of him. And I was like, no, I don't believe you, bitch.
I didn't trust this bitch from day one, but I appreciate that you figured it out at the last second.
But I think it's just a different spirit. Do you think
it's the water? It's the drowned woman from the beginning, and I'll tell you why. And I've noticed this upon rewatch. Is that because in her first encounter, she stays longer than 90 seconds. Like they can't take the hand off of her. So she already extends the connection with that woman, which means that woman will want to stay with her. So she's going to do everything that she saw in her mind. And I'm going to use all of that against her. So it's like every time you see her mother, the sound of water is really prominent in the sounds that you hear. And then especially in the final, like towards the end, the mom starts to look more wet and like, she's like bloated like the woman was at the beginning.
Oh.
So her mom starts getting like soaked in water and you're like, okay, yeah. So this is like, and they even say like they can imitate people. Like like what are the chances that she would fucking find her mom like the second time that they do this? You know what I mean? It just feels like it's a little too easy like that. I mean, in a lot of horror movies, that probably would be the thing. But I like the fact that it's like, No. These ghosts are fucking like, there's bad ones, right? There might be fun ones that are fine with staying, whatever, because you cut them off. But like, once they get a little taste, they're not going to want to fucking go. So I believe that they would do everything they could to try and get in there and fuck with you to take over your body.
Yeah, and what you just said makes a lot of sense also with the line that they say about they get weaker the longer they're in you. So it makes sense if they're good at like hiding, but then the longer that they're in them, the water, so all that stuff starts to kind of pour out a little bit.
But Mia's kind of too far gone at that point. But like you were saying, when she's talking to her at like the very end, but when they're like right by the highway, it's like she's really wet. She looks disgusting and she's bloated and creepy looking, And plus, just like the fact that like her dad even confirms that her mom committed suicide with the suicide note, and then the ghost's like, I didn't do that. It's like, well, okay, obviously you're lying, but like, I mean, at that point, Mia's like, yeah, I'd rather not believe that my mom killed herself. So like, sure, I'll be with you. But like, I thought that was a really interesting thing, because I feel like that's also something that like the demon who possesses you will always like, they know your deepest, darkest secrets. Like we learned that from The Exorcist and shit. Like they're always like shouting shit at you about that they know is going to fucking bother you. They do that even when they're not even inside you. So I imagine it's 10 times worse if they actually get access to your brain and like your memories and shit. So I feel like that's how it was able to manipulate, because it starts and shows up as her mother right before the bad one takes over Riley, the bad old guy. So
yeah,
boom, you're welcome. Solved it.
Nailed it. Yeah, they don't really do anything with like demons in this. It's just they're all spirits.
They're spirits, but they
all want to live again. So it's like if they get in you,
they seem like they're in a specific realm of like, they're not like in hell. They're not. I mean, maybe, I don't know, but like it seems like more of like some limbo area where they're not ready to move on, but like they're not fully like, I don't know. It's weird. I just feel like that's where like maybe the lost souls end up. I don't know. It's creepy. It's creepy that way though.
It's kind of like a purgatory thing.
Yeah, exactly. Which sucks.
So the last question that we got, and we can wrap up on this. Did Mia jump into traffic, or was she pushed?
I'd have to like rewatch the last scene 100 times probably to get a better answer, but like, it's like I want to say that yes, she figured it out, because I do feel like the sister was not close enough to be able to push Mia into traffic and save the brother, because like it just felt like she had more of a distance to go.
If you watch the final scene and you slow it down, it does show them in a split second. It shows them standing there, and it shows the sister running up, and like they get there, and then the car blocks the view, and then the body.
Okay, so the sister is there.
So here's my thoughts. I don't really know which one I think it is, but I have two options. One is that Mia realized that she was being manipulated, and she's like, I stabbed my dad, or I think I killed my dad, so like I can't get out of this. She touches Riley, takes whatever's in him and says, I let you in, and then she jumps to like to ruin it. Because Riley, from the visions, Riley gets out and he's in good health. His eyeballs are all in place.
Die with them in you, that like that's how they keep you. Right? That's what they said. If Riley dies with the spirits inside of him still, then like he will be like, they'll have him forever. Granted, again, like this whole thing that like the vision that you see of Riley down there with all the spirits touching him all over and he's screaming, like, is that real, or is that just the spirits manipulating her to make her think that he's being tortured? That's another thing.
I thought it was the spirit needs a body to live on. And so if you kill the body, then the spirit can't live on.
Yeah, but they were saying that if you die with the spirit inside you, that like that will have your soul forever. Like that's where you'll be with them forever. They want you, like they want innocent souls wherever they are or some shit.
Well, it sounds like there's some propaganda, because when she dies, she's okay. And it looks like Riley lives on her. Unless Riley's going to live on and do like an Omen type thing.
Yeah.
But
I mean, let's not put it past him. The kid has it in him. I think he did a really good job. Like, I mean, we all think of Linda Blair from The Exorcist as like a great kid being a fucked up thing, but like this kid really went for it.
Mm-hmm.
He really nailed it. But
the other option that I juggle with in my head is that she still took the spirit out, but then the sister pushed her into the thing, because when she goes into the afterlife, she's kind of like, "Oh, Dad, everyone's okay." Like, maybe that's what happens when you die, because we have no way of knowing what actually
I know what
afterlife
happens.
looks like. But
I like to think it's like Beetlejuice, where you're like just in a waiting room forever, and it's just like really boring, like regular life. That's what I love about it.
True purgatory.
There's like that fucking the handbook for the recently deceased, and they're like, this reads like stereo instructions. Like, I just feel like that's what we're doomed for. Which would be almost worse. But yeah, it's like we don't know, but it seems like I feel like once she stood up, I was like, okay, this bitch looks fucked. Like, I don't think she lived. It's like she's got all those, like, that fucking scar down her face, and like I mean, just when you're looking at the scene, not good.
The evidence for her getting pushed is that she's made all the wrong decisions up to this point. So why would she make the right decision at this point? Which is pretty compelling. So if I had to pick one, I think I would say she got pushed. But I think either way, she took the spirit out of him. And that's why he ended up okay.
I think he ended up okay because they were saying that, like, she didn't need to do this whole thing again with him. Like, that the whole talk to me hand again.
True.
They were like, you don't need, like, it'll literally, like, the longer it's in him, it'll get weaker. So, like, it'll leave. You just need to let it be. And stop letting the spirits manipulate you. But she was like an addict. That was her fix. So she figured it would help him, even though it was making things worse for her. It's a total addict move.
Well said. That's actually pretty true.
Yeah.
That's the real ending, is that she is just causing her own problems.
She's definitely like a self-destructive, I think one of the best examples of a self-destructive character, but like, cannot wait to see what this chick does next, because she's incredible. And will she be in Talk to Me, the sequel with the 2 instead of Tio?
That's the question. Are they going to do that, or are they going to do a something stupid like Now You See Me 2 when it should have been, it's the perfect opportunity for Now You Don't. But
exactly.
They don't do it.
It would be like you'd have, I mean, maybe they didn't have enough of a following for the first movie, because like that's a really bold choice to say, like, that is your title. It's like, what? There'd have to be some subtitles. It was like, Now You See Me Too. Now You Don't.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. We out here.